So, welcome to Ready for the Weekend, episode 16, the show where myself and Kev run through the weekend's must-see sporting action. Coming up this week, we have action from football, boxing and MMA. We hope you enjoy. We are kicking off this week with Soccer Aid, the now annual charity football game organised by Robbie Williams to raise money for UNICEF. Always just a super fun event. Rest of the world won on penalties last year. England lose on penalties. Shocking, I know. Standard soccer rules apply. Ex-pro goalkeeper starts first half, celeb in the second, and if penalties are needed. Additional women's football into the game as well, meaning that I think it's at least one women's player has to be on the park at all times. It's a really fun lineup this year. I mean, on the England side of things, Ollie Murs leading the team out. Likes of Rooney, Scholes, Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, all on the legend side. And then a really fun bunch of celebrities, Chunks making his return after becoming a massive fan favourite last year, and Lee Mack still looking for his first goal after probably about 10 years playing Soccer Aid. The rest of the world will be led out by Usain Bolt. Again, Rivaldo, Roberto Carlos, Patrice Evra, their lineup is stacked. Loads more to name as well. Dermot Kennedy stole the show last year, the Irish singer, was an absolute maestro in midfield and outclassed a fair large chunk of actual former footballers. Tom Grennan, one of the ones that's sort of supposed to steal the show this year as well, is a really solid player, and I'm personally most looking forward to seeing Youngblood. He's just stole the show at Reading and Leeds, and hopefully he can go and add his usual sort of flamboyance to the game here. Probably a little bit wrong to be predicting a charity game, but hey, it's something I enjoy watching every year, and looking at the lineups, I do fancy the rest of the world again. I'm going to say 3-1.
For the Soccer Aid, we have the England team versus the rest of the world. Both sides have decent players, even like former players and celebrities that are pretty decent at football. Very good side on both sides, especially the rest of the world. We've got players like Roberto Carlos, or Rivaldo, in the team. And a bit of Irish players in that. We got with the team management, we have Robert Keane, and then we have Dermot Kennedy on the side. In the English side, we have Wayne Rooney and other great talent like Paul Scholes. A bit of a fan of David James. He was a Pompey man, and I would more inclined to go for England, unfortunately. I think I might have more edge over the rest of the world. I might think I might go into penalties again, but then again we'll see. Hopefully it'll be a good entertaining match, which it definitely will be.
Up this week, we have the boxing between Mauricio Lara and Josh Warrington in their big rematch at Headingley, the Yorkshire cricket ground, which holds, I think, 20,000-ish for the boxing, so that could be a huge hometown advantage for Warrington, as he looks to overturn his first ever career loss, which was a 9th round TKO against Lara. Last time they fought was at the SSE in London, pretty much behind closed doors, not really any sort of crowd there, but this could be a massive partisan crowd for Warrington that could really spur him on. Everyone sort of raved about this massive upset. Lara scored last time, was an 11-1 underdog going into that fight, and Ring Magazine calling it possibly the biggest upset of this year. Like Ruiz Joshua level. Lara still the underdog this time, but by considerably smaller margin, having taken the win in their first meeting. He's a 23-year-old 5'7" Mexican boxer with a 23-2 record. About half of them knockouts with like 16 KOs. 12-fight win streak stretches back to 2018 when he lost to Elias Chavez, and he's ranked number 4. Warrington, on the other hand, has a 30-1 record, but doesn't have that KO background. He only has 7 knockouts on his 30-fight winning run, and was undefeated until February when he lost that big upset to Lara. Ranked one spot behind him at the moment in the featherweight rankings at 5th. And this is very much considered like a number 1 contender shot that will get a crack at one of the 3 guys that holds the belts at featherweight, which is a bit of a mess. You've got Navarrete, Galahad and Russell Jr. all holding 1 belt each at featherweight, so this kind of signals one of these guys will get a shot at one of those guys. I do think that the huge home advantage for Warrington's going to spur him on here, and I think he's going to take the win by decision.
For the welterweight, we have Josh Warrington versus Mauricio Lara. Biggest fight of the year, probably. Big shock when Josh lost against Lara back in February. Lara seems to have very clean shots from looking at that match, and he was actually well deserved. He seemed to be better throughout the round. But to see if he will do it again, especially with back on home turf for Josh in Leeds, where it will crowd this time. So maybe that could make a big impact. We'll see. I think that home advantage definitely plays its part. So despite losing his previous match, I still think he's going to win this one. But it won't be a knockout. I think it'll be by decision. But you never know. Big upset when he lost, so it was a bit surprised.
Week we have the co-main event of that fight in Katie Taylor and Jennifer Han. Taylor has all of her belts on the line in this one, and is the massive favourite in this outing. 18-0 record, 6 knockouts, undisputed lightweight champ, pound for pound #1 women's boxer in the world, having taken that mantle since Clarissa Shields made her jump to MMA, and has pretty much cleaned out the division. I think out of the top 6, there's only 2 in there she hasn't beaten yet, and Jennifer Han's one of them. Han, on the other hand, is 38, has a small size advantage and a small experience advantage, but she has an 18-3-1 record, but only has 1 recorded knockout on her entire career record. She's on an 8-fight win streak stretching back to 2014, but that is at featherweight, so she's jumping up from a division she didn't have KO power in, and her best shot at winning would be to KO Katie Taylor, because as you've seen over the course of her career, you are not going to outbox her. She is a former IBF female featherweight champ, but this is her first crack at lightweight, and I just don't see it. I think Katie Taylor takes this by decision fairly comfortably.
In the lightweight, we have Katie Taylor versus Jennifer Han. The co-main event to the Laura Warrington fight, but just as big. It's going to be a very big evening for these both fighters. Katie Taylor, very dominant, but you can see a few issues from her previous fights, but still very dominant in her division. Han has to do a lot to beat Katie Taylor. This is her first lightweight match, so I don't think she might be up against Katie Taylor. Despite she's still 35, I think she's got a lot of it in her. I can't even tell it could even be a knockout. But I'll still go for a win for Katie Taylor.
Okay, so we pop over to Vegas now for the UFC main event of Vegas 36, as Derek Brunson takes on Darren Till in a big contenders fight in the middleweight division. 2 top guys in the division here, both inside the top 10, vying to sort of impress Izzy Adesanya into maybe getting a fight with him. Brunson, it would be a rematch. Till, they've been chirping back and forth with each other, which for what feels like an eternity at this point. Sort of feels inevitable if Till can get a little bit of momentum in the middleweight division, that fight kind of has to happen, just because it's 2 guys that can build hype online without really having to actually do anything. Brunson, the older guy, 37, 22-7 record, and he's ranked number 5 as it stands in the middleweight division. 4-fight win streak. His last 2 were big upsets over prospects Kevin Holland and Edmund Shabazian. Been labelled as sort of a gatekeeper up until then, and this has sort of catapulted him into that upper tier, along with like Costa, Whitaker, Till, Gastelum maybe replaced him as the gatekeeper of the division. Super high level wrestler who can just shut guys down. Last loss was back in 2018 to Adesanya, so he's sort of looking to impress and make amends for that loss, and would be an impressive matchup for him over 5 rounds, especially with the form he's on if he can get past Till. Darren Till, on the other hand, considerably younger at 28, has an 18-3-1 record, and is basically the face of British MMA, so he's got that big following behind him. Stereotypical Liverpool guy, he's mouthy, great social media game, but yeah, the last 4 fights he's had have been cancelled, so he's really been inactive for quite some time now, since that Whitaker decision loss, and has only won 1 of his last 4, but they were against top guys. Can be a bit of a wild card. You're never totally sure what's going to happen with Till. He has at times looked next level, a world class fighter, and at times he just really hasn't. So I actually think I'm going to take Brunson here, and I'm going to say again a decision. A little bit boring with 3 back-to-back decisions in my predictions this week, but I do think Brunson sort of has the stylistic advantage over Till to kind of shut him down.
In the UFC, we have Brunson versus Till. Till, who very unpredictable. You don't know what kind of shot, or is he going to be world class, or is he going to be, or even a trap, depending what he's going to be like during the night. He'd be a betting man for him. Brunson, who's despite losing two losses in 2018, he bounced back with 4 wins, and he's on a good, very good winning streak. Despite his age, 27, I still think he's offered a challenge, and I would say he would actually win that. He's very, you can see from his very good striking, and he's a very good wrestler too. So I probably put money on Brunson to win, even by knockout. But we'll see how it goes.
We finish up this week with the World Cup qualifier between Ireland and Azerbaijan in what is essentially a must-win for Ireland. Lost both of their games so far in qualifying and sit 4th out of 5 in the group, along with Azerbaijan tied at the bottom without a point. It was a 3-2 loss to Serbia in their opening game, which was tough, but Serbia are a decent side, followed by a fairly embarrassing showing against Luxembourg, which saw them lose 1-0. A little bit of a change up in the Ireland setup, as Randolph, Brady and McCarthy are all dropped out, as well as Callum Robinson being unlikely after being pinged for COVID. So it's a rough spot to be in there. Centre-back Nathan Collins could be in line to make his debut, though, after his move to Burnley. And on fixtures, Ireland's last outing saw them get a win over Andorra and a draw with Hungary, so at least they've got a win recently. Azerbaijan, on the other hand, have lost both of their 2 games to Portugal and Serbia, so yes, they have lost both of their games in the group, but it's probably to the 2 strongest sides in it. On international duty last time, they got a win over Belarus and lost to Turkey. There is no point me trying to explain anything about their squad. I know next to nothing about any of them, and I probably couldn't pronounce them if I tried. This is a huge game for Ireland. I mean, look, they were embarrassed last time out against Luxembourg. They need to get things back on course here. They're much better than that, but they haven't played like it recently. But I'm still going to say they take this one. I'm going to say 2-0 win for Ireland.
In the World Cup qualifier, we have Ireland versus Azerbaijan. Ireland still hasn't won a game yet. It's now in game 3. Azerbaijan also hasn't won a game yet. They're both about the bottom of the table. Ireland's just 4th out of 5th. Might go for Ireland this time, but I don't think it's going to be a very comfortable win. I think it's going to be a 1-0 win, to be honest. They're lacking some great talent, unfortunately, and even their best players are not going to be in the squad, like Brady or McCarthy. So it's going to, I would say Ireland, but it's not going to be very comfortable. So I would say 1-0 win, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay, so that wraps up episode 16 of Ready for the Weekend. Let us know your predictions below. Like, subscribe, just drop a comment in general. Let us know anything you want us to cover in the future, and we'll try and get on it, because it's always fun to just pick some weird random stuff over a weekend. Anyway, see you next time.